Mayor David Harrison, a black man, faced humiliation at an upscale restaurant when the manager denied him service, likely due to his skin color. The incident went viral, putting the restaurant at risk of closure. Now David must make a decision that will shake everyone. As the evening sky settled over the city, its streets began to glow under the soft, scattered light of street lamps. Mayor David Harrison, a middle-aged black man with a quiet, commanding presence, stepped into one of the city's most prestigious dining establishments. His attire was simple, with no signs betraying his prominent position, a conscious choice to blend in and observe without drawing attention. Inside, the scene was an elegant affair. Chandeliers cast a warm, opulent glow over polished wood floors. Tables adorned with fine linens and crystal glassware sparkled in the light. Aromas of freshly prepared dishes, rich and inviting, filled the air. David took a deep breath, soaking in the ambience that was designed to promise a first-class dining experience. Just then, his gaze met that of the restaurant manager, Tom Reed. Tall, slender, and impeccably dressed in a sharp black suit, Tom looked at David with a glint of disdain thinly veiled behind a professional mask. Approaching with a forced, tight-lipped smile, Tom greeted him. "How may I assist you?" There was something in his tone, a subtle edge, that didn't escape David's notice. David requested a table for one, noticing several unoccupied seats around the room. Tom's expression shifted ever so slightly, and with a smirk barely masked by courtesy, he replied, "I'm afraid we're fully booked for the evening. You'll have to wait." His words, though outwardly polite, carried a distinct chill. Watching other patrons be seated immediately after his arrival, with Tom's attitude noticeably warmer, David sensed the discrimination embedded in his treatment. Minutes passed, and the dining room filled with the sound of clinking glasses and low, comfortable laughter. David observed quietly, refusing to let irritation get the best of him. Tom, however, seemed to be growing more confident in his disdain, glancing at David every so often with an air of superiority. Finally, after what seemed an intentional wait, Tom approached David once more, this time without pretense, his tone laced with a subtle cruelty. "Our services here aren't meant for everyone," he said with a slight chuckle. "Perhaps you'd feel more comfortable at a different kind of establishment." The insinuation was unmistakable, his words wrapped in a thinly veiled insult that left David with a bitter realization. Even in the heart of his own city, respect was not a given, regardless of his achievements or position. David's initial purpose had been to evaluate this establishment's treatment of its guests, especially those who might not fit the stereotypical elite profile. Now, standing in the midst of this silent confrontation, he understood more deeply than ever the quiet, enduring prejudice that still thrived in corners where power and privilege intersected. David took a steady breath, stifling his frustration as Tom coldly suggested he leave. Internally, he was angered, but knew it wasn't the time to react emotionally. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call to the city's licensing department, discussing details of the restaurant's upcoming liquor license review. He explained that a thorough reassessment was necessary. Finishing the call, he took another look around the room. Not intending to leave just yet, David observed how the staff interacted with other patrons. At that moment, a white man in an expensive suit entered, likely a businessman or a figure of influence. Tom's demeanor instantly shifted, his face breaking into a friendly smile as he eagerly welcomed the new guest and offered him one of the best tables. David's irritation grew as he realized this starkly different treatment was due to his race. Some nearby patrons noticed the situation, and surprised, they began whispering to each other, noting how odd it was for the city's mayor to be denied a table when others were being promptly served. The murmurs grew, and a few guests, glancing at David, started taking videos of the scene. Tom noticed the growing curiosity among the patrons. His face hardened, and his thin courtesy was replaced by irritation. He approached David with a stricter tone, though maintaining a veneer of politeness, saying, "May I ask you to leave? It seems your presence is disrupting the environment." Tom's look was a mix of frustration and apprehension, aware that other guests were watching closely. David stood tall and in a firm voice for all to hear announced, "It seems it's time to introduce myself. I'm David Harrison, the mayor of this city." His words fell like a thunderbolt, causing the entire room to fall silent. Tom, who had moments before regarded him with scorn, suddenly paled, visibly shaken. A wave of astonished whispers rippled through the crowd, and several patrons openly recorded the unfolding scene on their phones, intrigued by the mayor's next move. David stepped forward and, looking directly at Tom, calmly continued, "I came here anonymously to observe how your establishment treats customers. As mayor, it's my duty to ensure this place upholds the city's standards before approving its liquor license renewal. And after what I've seen, I have serious concerns." Realizing his actions had become public knowledge, Tom looked utterly lost. He seemed to want to say something, but the words caught in his throat. His face reddened as his eyes darted around the room, searching in vain for support but finding only disapproving looks. Seeing the crowd's expectant faces, David paused before adding, "However, I'm willing to reconsider my position if the restaurant implements specific measures. I insist on training for all staff to ensure no more incidents like this. Additionally, I think an apology to everyone here who witnessed this incident is in order." The patrons observing the exchange murmured approvingly, with some even applauding, showing their respect for the mayor. Realizing that a refusal could cost him not just his reputation, but also his job, Tom hesitated, then reluctantly muttered, "I apologize for my actions. We'll do everything necessary to make this right." David nodded, indicating he'd accepted the apology. He took one last look around and left the restaurant with dignity, leaving Tom in complete shock, aware he now had no choice but to publicly acknowledge his mistakes and initiate serious changes. A week later, under the glare of cameras and the keen eyes of reporters, the restaurant held a press conference about the incident that had stirred intense public reaction. Journalists, city council members, and concerned citizens filled the room. Standing in front of the restaurant, now a backdrop for public accountability, was Tom Reed, visibly uneasy and a bit subdued, evidently finding the apology difficult to deliver. Taking the microphone, Tom gathered his composure and began with downcast eyes. "I am here today to sincerely apologize for my behavior and for the incident that took place at our restaurant. My actions were wrong, and I acknowledge the unacceptable discrimination shown toward Mayor Harrison and all those who witnessed it. I promise that our restaurant will now become a place where everyone feels respected and welcome, regardless of race, social status, or background." His words were met with a gentle round of applause, and the tension in the room began to ease. Growing more confident, Tom continued, "We have started mandatory training for our staff on non-discrimination and respectful treatment of all customers. I also take full responsibility for ensuring that this never happens again. Our restaurant will become an example for others, and we are committed to changing perceptions and improving the atmosphere here." Following Tom's words, Mayor David Harrison took the microphone. His presence brought a renewed sense of gravity to the moment. With a steady but firm tone, he addressed the audience. "This past week has shown us how a single incident can be a powerful catalyst for change. What happened here exposed deep-rooted issues that require us all to unite in addressing them. We cannot tolerate discrimination, not in public spaces or anywhere else." Pausing to look around at the guests and reporters, he continued, "Respect for every individual, regardless of background, race, or social status, is the foundation of our society. Incidents like these remind us of the need for a daily commitment to justice and equality. I believe this establishment can become a symbol of change, inspiring others towards social justice and mutual respect." David's speech resonated deeply with the audience, and many applauded him standing. Reporters recorded his words, recognizing that this story had taken on not only local, but also symbolic significance. Shortly after the press conference, news of the restaurant's new measures spread across social media, sparking a strong response among residents and beyond the city. The public was moved by the decisive actions of the mayor and the restaurant's commitment to reform, inspiring other businesses to adopt similar initiatives. The city, with a hopeful outlook, began to view this restaurant as a beacon of change, convinced that transformation is possible when everyone is willing to take responsibility.